All right, my friends, we are here at Haven Smart. We got Mr. Kumazawa, son, Hi-Fi Division Yamaha Japan, flew down here to Audioholics so he could bring the 5000 series of components so he could give us a demo and he could give us a technical overview. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasala with Audioholics. It is an honor to have you here, Mr. Kumazawa-san. This guy is a legend. He's been with Yamaha for decades. He's the guy that's in the trenches designing the very highest quality audio components that Yamaha makes. And I can't wait to hear about the technology that's in here. First of all, thank you for coming again. Yeah. So why don't you give me a little background of what you do, what your background is with Yamaha, so our audience understands who you are.
Yeah, I'm Kumazawa from Yamaha Japan. I am responsible for product plan and direct the sound direction. And I lead the product project. Yeah.
That's awesome. So one thing I want to talk about is we'll go component by component. Obviously, we also have the turntable here. We'll have a separate video on that. Let's start with the C5000. This is a preamplifier. This thing is a beast. It weighs like 50 pounds and it's only a preamplifier. It weighs more than most amplifiers. And it's built to like military standard. When you look at the brushed aluminum on the front, the symmetric layout, just everything is thick, everything just screams quality. It reminds me of back in the day, I had a friend that was in the military in the 80s, and he would bring in hi-fi gear from Japan, and it was Yamaha stuff. This is what introduced me to the brand, and I remember seeing that two-channel components just in awe. Just by touching the volume controls, you're like, wow, this is serious stuff. It almost seems like you guys are bringing that back, but you're updating the technology. Is this kind of a homage to back in the day of the hi-fi of the 80s?
I back to hi-fi market at 2006. So at that time, we have a new idea for hi-fi. So we thought we can realize more low noise circuit and then more purely and perfect symmetrical circuit or something. So we have some ideas, so we back to hi-fi.
I got you. So it's basically an uptake or an update to what you guys did so great decades ago. One thing I could tell you, just when we were doing listening tests, I had Don come in here and I turned the volume up on the preamp. It was connected to the amplifier, had the speakers connected. I had no signal going through it. I go, Don, stick your ear up to that tweeter and tell me what you hear. He looks at me, he goes, I hear nothing. I go, that's exactly the point. So this thing is so quiet, and there's a lot of reasons why the noise floor is so low on these components. And I want you to talk about why everything is balanced differential from input to output, because it's very rare in consumer audio that you have fully differential all the way to the output stage. That's what you're getting with these Yamaha 5000 series. Can you talk about why you went balanced and differential?
So balanced transmission of most important to reduce and suppress the noise, because the noise comes from the power line and radiation from any other electrical devices. So this noise is if amplifier pick up these noises, so these noises influence to sound quality. So if we are realizing to reduce the sound noise as possible. So it's a very, very important for amplifier. So our amplifier is completely balanced from input to
all over to the speaker output. Yeah, you were telling me that basically an entire channel is on this top PWB, and then the other channel is underneath it, right under it, the same components. And there's a lot of components here. And basically, the reason why most companies don't go fully differential is because you have double the part counts, double the complexity. It's not always easy to design fully balanced, fully symmetric designs like this. Then you guys take it one step further. My understanding, there's no operational amplifiers in this preamplifier. This is all done discreetly by Yamaha.
Yeah. For balanced transmission, same signal path tracing in the pattern on the PC board is the most important things.
Right.
So our preamplifier has a two board. Upper side is L channel,
Right.
bottom side is R channel. So it's like a book match construction. So, and like this. So the signal path is completely traced same way.
Same trace lengths. Yeah.
Yes.
So I could tell you guys, back in the day when before I was doing Audioholics, I was a telecom engineer, and I had to design signal circuits, analog front ends to modems and such, that would transmit a very low signal across miles of telephone cable. The only way to do that was to do fully differential circuits. You could not do that with single-ended. You could not do that with a topology that went to ground. And it was challenging, and it was the best way to get the lowest noise, the lowest distortion. And that's what we heard here when we were listening to this preamplifier with the matching power amplifiers. It's just an incredibly low noise floor. It's almost like a good black level of, an OLED panel, if you will, if you're a videophile. So that was what was really impressive. The other thing that's cool about this is you've got a separate power supply for each channel, separate toroids here. You have a lot of copper. This whole bottom of this chassis is all copper. Is that further to reduce resistances and to lower noise?
Yeah. So the reason why I use the copper is reduce resistor and impedance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this chassis is a ground level.
Right.
It's a reference level of voltage and circuit current. So it's the reduce impedance is very important.
Okay.
Because if reduce impedance, so reference level of ground is very stable. If noise is happened here, so this noise is influenced to all circuit. So the reducing the resistor and impedance is very important.
I think I read on the Yamaha spec the residual noise is under 3 microvolts. So it's really low. It's really low. The other thing that's cool about this is it's all analog, so there's no DAC in here. You also make a matching CD player in this series, which we unfortunately don't have here to demo. But it's got a very high quality Phono preamplifier, which matches your 5000 series turntable, which we will be doing a separate video on. It's just, when I look at this, it's beautiful craftsmanship. It's like buying a fine watch, and the difference is that this actually produces incredibly good sound. So it looks as good as it sounds. I want to talk about now, we went over the 5000 preamplifier. I want to go over the 5000 amplifier. This thing looks like a tank. I mean, when you look at this, you're in for a treat of some incredible performance here. Now, it's massive. It's got big heat sinks, big power supplies. But yet when you look at the Yamaha website, it's only rated at 100 watts a channel. It doesn't sound like a lot until you realize the specs, the devil's in the details. Number one, my understanding when you're dealing with Hi-Fi division of Yamaha is your specs are very conservative. So that 100 watts is at a very low distortion level. Number two, we were talking about this before, this amplifier doubles down with having load impedance. Basically, it's an ideal voltage source. So it's 100 watts at 8 ohms, 200 watts at 4 ohms, 400 watts at 2 ohms. This thing can drive a fork. That's how stable it is.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about why that is the case. Why do you have so much heatsink area, such a large power supply? What goes into a product like this?
Yeah, so 100 watt at exactly 125 watt at 8 ohms.
8 ohms, yeah.
And a double output power, 250 watt at 4 ohm.
Okay.
So this means power regulation is the power for amplifier regulation. So if drive the music, such as big band, so many big band or orchestra or something, which is so many music instruments playing. So need most important things is have a good regulation, linear regulation from the 4 ohm to 8 ohm. So,
Right.
So that is we think that is very important.
And that's why you have so much power supply capacitance.
Yes.
You got 4 power supply capacitors,
Yeah.
very large ones.
Yeah.
You have the Torrid. It looks like the Torrid that was from the MX5000 amplifier, which was an 11-channel amplifier. This thing has a lot of capability, guys, let me tell you. Now, the other thing about this amplifier, it follows that balanced topology, the differential topology. So what that means is you've got the outputs to the speaker are floating. There's no
Yes.
ground reference on that. And I want you to talk about, you're using MOSFETs,
Yeah.
the fact that you have so much symmetry here. Talk about the circuit, about how it's not a typical push-pull circuit.
Yeah. So our power amplifier is a very, very unique circuit. So we call floating and balanced amplifier. Floating means the float from the ground, completely floated from the ground. And the balanced means the complete balance. So that means, as you said, in conventional amplifier, amp is drive music signal. For plus side of the signal is push.
Right.
And in the minus side of the signal is a pull. So push, pull, like this. But in our floating and balanced amplifier is pull for plus and pull and minus. Pull.
So you're using the same circuit, the same MOSFET for the plus and the minus.
So same MOSFET used for plus and minus.
So the advantage there is you have perfectly matched circuits. That means your DC offset will be lower, right?
Yeah.
And it's just better for distortion performance. I mean, there's just a lot of benefits to having this incredibly symmetric design. Now, the other thing I want to ask you about is this is obviously a linear amplifier, and obviously this is an analog platform that you're doing. My understanding, the reason why you didn't go Class D on this amplifier is you guys wanted to design something that's ultra wide bandwidth. So this is flat to 100 kilohertz, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do Class D that goes beyond 20, maybe 40 kilohertz because you got to deal with this high, you have to have a really high switching frequency, then you have to have an output filter to get rid of that noise, and your bandwidth stops at around 20 to 40K,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So as a music instrument company, how we express the sound of music instruments exactly. So we pursue the distortion, reduce the distortion, and keep the wide range. So music instruments have so many frequency. So we make importance to reduce the distortion and keep the wide frequency range.
Your dogs are going to love this amplifier. Let me tell you guys something. To have something that's linear and low distortion all the way to 100 kilohertz. And the other thing too about this, because everything is so stable and the power supply is so rigid, not only does it double down with load impedance, but it basically is load invariant. So it doesn't matter whether you're driving an 8 ohm or 4 ohm speaker or something that's really complex, the frequency response of the amplifier is not going to change, especially within the audio band. Within the 20 to 30 kilohertz audio band, it's going to look like a ruler flat. Oh, and the other thing I want to talk to you guys about is we've got these 3 components on this table because I wanted to take the tops off. Because they're so heavy, I've never seen this table bow before, right? I've had components on here. You've seen me do videos in my room. I'm worried if this thing is going to stay stable enough for us to finish the series of videos here. So please, don't be mad at me if it collapses. Well, you know, the last thing I guess we could talk about is, you know, I was looking at the feet on here.
Yeah.
They look like they're very stable. Can you talk about what you did to minimize mechanical vibrations on this amplifier and the preamplifier?
This is the original foot. So this one, it's not like it don't have a spike. Look
Right,
like,
right.
But actually, this one is internally have a
Oh,
spike.
cool.
And it also have a cover.
Right.
So both.
It's just
protect
another
and
example
spike.
of incredible. The devil's in the details here. This is craftsmanship to the next level, guys. The machining of this equipment is just unbelievable. Like when we pulled the top plate off, I couldn't believe how thick it was and just rigid. It didn't resonate when you touched it. It's like when you're buying a fine watch or you're buying a really high-end car, a Bentley or something like that. That's what we're looking at when we're looking at these components. So just a recap on this, the C5000, the retail on this is about 10 grand. The M5000, the retail on that is about 10. So it's about 20 grand for the two pieces. Okay, wait a minute. We are not done with this video because we forgot to talk about the coolest feature of the M5000 two-channel amplifier. It's these beautiful VU meters. I absolutely love that. That's something that's missing from a lot of electronics today. And you guys are not skimping on this. You gave really big ones, so you could clearly see these meters moving up or down. Can you talk about the different settings on the VU meters?
Yeah, this VU meter is a product in Japan, and glass is purely huge, about 5 millimeter thickness. So pure. So this glass is also made in Japan.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's very beautiful.
Very beautiful. And you have different settings, so you could look at the peaks, or you could look at the continuous signal.
Yeah.
I just love it. It's a nice little touch. Between that and all this really thick aluminum construction that you have on the top plates and the front chassis, just beautiful, guys. Thumbs up if you're an audiophile. If you're on the market for ultra high-end two-channel, you really owe yourself to take a look at Yamaha. This is a serious contender here. Beautiful equipment here. It sounds as good as it looks. Mr. Kumazawa, I really appreciate you coming here to drop this knowledge on us. Guys, if you like this video, please thumb it up. Hit the subscribe button. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to me if you want to suggest video topics or ask questions. And until next time, my friends, keep listening. All right.
Jazz hands. You're good?
I'm ready. You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right.